All right, guys.
We are
Good
live.
morning, good evening, wherever you may be. I think we're live. So give us
Yes.
a note in the chat. We've got Hoss, got Bull, the whole team's here. So that's good. It's
Hello,
been a long
hello.
time coming, but how are you guys feeling? It's Lambda time. So going to talk about everything that we've been doing the last couple of months. Bull's going to give a tech update. Hoss will give an update on where he's at with the marketing side of things, and I'll fill in the gaps where some questions about product marketing also, and lead the way, I
Yeah.
guess, with the conversation around the tech. So let's do it, huh?
Yeah, try and answer as many of the AMA questions. Just give people a good feeling of where we're at right now. Yeah.
Yeah, let's
All
do
right.
it.
So I guess the milestones we've been, I guess, to the start of the year, we've been negotiating mainly around additional work to help Bull out, mainly with the tech stuff. So we've got a few developers working under Bull, but that is not enough currently to develop what we want to this year. So that's been the negotiation phase we've been going through the last couple of months. So that's why I guess comms has been a little bit slower than what we'd like it to be, and overall, it's just been a little bit slower to start the year.
Yeah.
But that's going to really, really ramp up now that we've come to somewhat of a finalization on that. So the milestones for this year, just to quickly touch on that before I basically hand over to Bull, I think for a good few minutes.
Yeah.
The trade execution, advanced charting, event-based trading, freemium and authentication upgrade to the platform. We really want to get this platform in the hands of more users, people that aren't so familiar with Solana. That's a bit of a blocker at the moment. So what we're noticing is people are wanting to use Lambda, but they're not necessarily familiar with Phantom wallets, Soulflare wallets, the Solana ecosystem, and that's a barrier to entry at the moment. So what we want to do is, have that Web3 authentication, but then also bring on the Web2 authentication where you can use your Gmail account, Apple account, Twitter account, or all of these different things that are a bit more familiar to people.
Yep.
And alongside all of this will be a Lambda tokenomic upgrade to, I guess, fill in where the Lambda token becomes more utilized in the app for these people that are coming on board and using that premium access. They may have areas of the app that are locked behind a paywall, but they have to get their hands on Lambda and then unlock those areas with Lambda. So there's a whole bunch of things that will go into the tokenomic upgrade. We won't go so much into that in this town hall, but just to know the milestones around what we're working towards this year is basically this stuff here. So there's a lot there, but what we are doing is ironing that out and building a pathway to Q2, Q3, Q4, and getting that going. So, Bull, you can probably
just
lead off now, I think.
Yeah, I'll cover this one. If you can just go back to the previous slide just quickly. With negotiations, we mean obviously speccing it out, scoping it out, making sure that we have all of the features outlined. We're negotiating a work package with several developers for a whole year. So they need to know exactly month by month which things need to get done, which are the parts of this, which parts need to get designed out, which parts haven't been designed out. So negotiation is a bit of an umbrella term for all of the speccing, designing, scoping, and then understanding where they should put their efforts and where I should put my efforts and what stuff's going to cost and how we spread that out. So yeah, next slide. Let's do it.
All right.
Okay, so before we dive into trade execution, it's really important to share a bit of like the internal vision from the three of us, and specifically from a point that Hoss makes repeatedly, and I completely agree with, and that's the following: is that we don't want to be a jack of all trades platform. We don't want to do and this and that and the other stuff, and then not have stuff fully finished. So one of the things actually before trade execution is implemented, and I've been working on the test version of this for quite a while now, and been trading with the interface successfully. So it's out. But Hoss is right in saying that we need several items to be fully complete within the chart. So currently, for example, within the macro and order book dashboards, we have order book flow, which is a great thing, but technically it should just be within the trading view as a sub panel right underneath the candles chart. We have an entire infrastructure ready and tested for open interest, aggregate open interest and funding, weighted aggregate open interest and funding, CVD, and several other parameters that HOS frequently uses that we have the infrastructure for and the UI for. So we are finalizing the implementation thereof. So once that whole package is complete, also with some automated reporting on the key drivers in the current market, like ETF flows, and a approach to liquidation heat maps that should be unique to Lambda. We don't want to make yet another liquidation heat maps, because as cool as they are, a lot of them in the market are frankly based on imaginary information, because nobody knows the real positions and sizings of people. You can make a calculated guess, but not a full part of it. Once that is done, we move on to what is probably the feature I've been dying to get released since we started Lambda, and that was the ultimate vision of us, is that we want to be the best platform to have informed directional trades with the great community. So the directional basis of Lambda is just, let's help people get ready for the best possible way to expose themselves into the market. So give them high probability events of when things should be bought and sold, give high probability events when risk should be managed better, when volatility is upcoming. And we do that with integrated flowing data and the best possible visualization thereof. And then the goal of the community, which we have with the community on top of that, is that everybody's there using this, sharing their insights, and everybody's getting better together. So winning together is what was our biggest goal right from the beginning. And trade execution, I think, is a huge part of that. So initially we had a design whereby we would have what you would say a quintessential terminal layout with the buy and sell buttons. We've had some kickback over that, and I agree with that feedback. So we've rethought the way that we want to trade. And I think the way to go is to have a completely seamless flow between a good mobile experience and a good desktop experience, where you don't necessarily have to focus your attention on the chart, but you focus your attention on the events that are important and you trade around them. And that you can manage your positions very easily, intuitively, and visually within the chart. Like, the last thing we want is for you to have to open a box, enter numbers, drag a slider, go back to the chart, check if it's all right, with the order book running away from you. It should just all be an integrated thing. So we've completely redesigned the approach around this. And this is something that you cannot develop with one person. So that's why we've been negotiating with the development team. Okay, how are we going to get this done? Where do we start? How do we make it secure? That's a really important one. Some of the things we want to do make it impossible to just have the keys stored within the browser. So we need to see how we split up features around that. And we want to implement stuff like trading tools and trading risk templates and trigger-based execution, so that people are reminded at the right moments about their position and can manage their position actively or not as actively as they desire themselves. So this is an enormous thing that we've been thinking about. Like, the simplest version that I've been working on with right now is that we have trading execution code, so we can execute all kinds of trades, market limit orders, borrow, spot, whatever, on exchanges. But I wanted it to be connected to events. So I've been trading Sol on the 15-minute, 1 hour, and the 4 hour, just for fun, like in between stuff when I'm on the toilet or making a sandwich or making a coffee or waiting somewhere, and I get an alert from a signal. I'm like, well, looks kind of good. I get a screenshot of the chart. Fuck it, let's expose ourselves a little bit. And I mean, I know that the market's slightly on easy mode at the moment, but it's been absolutely hilarious just seeing trade after trade after trade being in the green. And I know that's not going to happen for everybody, but what really helps me, especially as someone that cannot be stuck behind the screen the whole day looking at charts and would actually get a headache from that, is just getting these gentle reminders at the right moments so that I can make the decisions at the right moments. And I never intended it to be fully automated, but just to be as well guided as possible. All right, I think that we can move on from this. We've talked a lot about this execution. Authentication overall, this is another big point. Yeah, I think that you might want to cover this one, Ted, because I've been speaking for a while.
Yeah, and Hoss, I'd love to get Hoss' thoughts as well, because I think we're all pretty much on the same page. It's just how we convey our thoughts. So I spoke about at the start where there's a bit of a barrier to entry on Lambda at the moment. Solana's great for those that are comfortable with Solana and that have used Solana, and that I guess are comfortable with Web3 in general. But for those people that I guess, are new to crypto or haven't really, spent a lot of time on chain and more on centralized exchanges, something like a wallet-based authentication can be a bit foreign. So what we want to do is revamp that and allow people more flexibility in how they can access Lambda. So Gmail accounts, Twitter accounts, Apple accounts, or you can just use your wallet. And the other thing is what we want to do is integrate for those that do choose to use that Web 2 type of authentication is still have flexibility to have a Solana wallet on the back end. So whether that's we generate that for them on the back end and they have full custody of their funds, but they can still have that integration with Lambda whenever they want to pay for something in the app or open a new feature. They can deduct that from that Solana wallet balance, and that's it. They don't really need to interface with that Solana wallet at all. So making it as easy and as clean for people to get access and not have to think twice about jumping into the app is really the point here and what we're trying to do. Hoss, I'd love to get your idea about this because this is one thing that you're pretty keen on.
Yeah, I think this is very important to open up Lambda for the usability of it in terms of anyone being able to just create the account via email, legacy things like Gmail or Apple or whatever, or Twitter, but still not lose the tie to Solana and the Solana ecosystem. So the idea was to have these auto-generated Solana wallets, which then for the people that don't even want to buy and send have the on-ramping integration. And then also beyond that, seamlessly integrate all of the flow that we have in our backend for the Lambda token for the purchase of the subscription or whatever premium features might come where there's pay-to-go features, so that the user does not have to face swapping and other things himself. They just sign up and use. And I think that's, for me personally, that's an important chapter change for Lambda, and I think for most people also, because it just opens up everything way more.
Yeah. I'll add something to it, is that we have the smart contract capabilities to have a managed wallet by the platform, which people can then on-ramp into, and then all of these transactions can happen in the background. So you can think of it as like a credit facility on the platform itself. Ich versuche es auf Deutsch, Jona. Wir arbeiten an die Sprachfunktionalität für den App auch in Deutsch und andere Sprachen. Also das heißt eine Technologie I18N, und wir sind in dem Prozess, um das zu integrieren.
Also, I mean, another thing that this gives the potential for in the future, because in the execution field, centralized exchange execution is the beginning, but it goes way beyond that to DeFi and decentralized exchanges. So it also opens up the platform for that potentially in the future.
Yeah, I think that's the thing I'm very excited about, is that once we have it complete on directional trading for centralized exchanges, is that the smart contract platform will help a smooth integration with DeFi protocols and on-chain trading.
Yeah.
So I guess what's that going to look like? If you look at MarginFi, not to shill any other projects, but this is kind of the overall flow. They use a platform called Web3 Auth, and we're negotiating or just finalizing how we're going to interact with that. So build our own is looking the more likely case, but if you want to look at the overall flow and what that's going to look like, you can get a pretty good idea via MarginFi, and there's a whole bunch of other platforms that do the same thing. So if you're curious, you can take a look there. And this is the on-ramper. So on-ramper is essentially an integration where you can use credit cards or debit cards to on-ramp fiat into decentralized apps. So that would be, imagine the flow where people want to get access to Lambda, they don't have any funds on chain, they'll integrate, they'll come onto Lambda, and then they will use on-ramper on the back end, will take that USDC, and make that all work with Lambda, the Lambda token, and give them access. So that's what we're talking about there with that fiat integration into Lambda.
Mm-hmm.
So, Bull, do you want to speak to the timeline? I think this is quite tech heavy.
Yeah, sure. I'll try to keep it as short as possible because I tend to ramble on. We're very close to finalizing and locking in the timeline with the developments. We still have some discussions on what should have a higher priority than others. We're really trying to sort that within the founding team discussion cycle as quickly as possible, so we can lock it in and say this is what we're going to do. But to give you a small peek, is that we have three main focus areas right now. I spent quite a bit of effort on the signals this first quarter to make it as robust as possible. I updated the whole platform and engine yesterday to be more robust. Hopefully, it will be more reliable over the coming weeks, so the focus can go towards these things. I want to get back to advanced charting. So Haas has provided a large list of major important data feeds and aspects that we need to visualize within the application, and we are very close to having the infrastructure finalized for that and then starting to integrate the first parts of it. Open interest aggregated across different exchanges is already working in terms of data aggregation, and we just need to visualize it in the chart. For April, May, June, we are working firstly on which signals help in understanding where the market's at, and then my biggest love of all, the order book, will be tackled then as we are integrating those elements. So as those parts are integrated, the focus will more and more shift towards novel ways of understanding aggregate order book levels. So for example, to give you a practical idea, if you've been trading large spot volumes for Solana, for example, a lot of the institutional flow is on Coinbase. If you look at the order book levels on Coinbase, it's almost like to the cent accurate where you should place your stops and where you should buy in and where it's likely to revert down a bit. It's been a bit crazy, and I think that there's a lot of, and that's just one venue. So if you manage to have the top 80% of volume of one coin aggregated in levels over an order book visualized on the chart, it makes that, in combination with trading execution, quite an interesting way to expose yourself to the market and not expose yourself to the market. That brings me to the trade engine. I think I've talked about this quite a bit, but you can see here sort of where we're looking to be at in terms of deployment. This is one of the things that we're still looking a bit at prioritization. So whether to work more on data visualization and having the right parameters at hand as to when we start moving over to the trade engine. So this is a bit of the dynamic that's still under discussion, when we should start prioritizing one or the other. And then one thing which is set, and it's already started to be implemented, is the authentication system that Ted has been referring to. And then the smaller parts in the background are obviously all of the tokenomic updates and the flow of the application, the signups and so on. But these are smaller things. And there's a fourth vertical, I would say, which is very important, which is the application can be used on mobile, but it's not mobile optimized. So one thing that a lot of people have sent feedback for is that they just need a slightly lighter version to be rendered on the mobile, which is easier to navigate. And currently it's possible, but it's not ideal. So that's a big thing, like language, usability, and speed of loading for mobile readiness is a big thing, which the whole application has been prepared for. So it shouldn't be a very large thing to optimize. So this is like a quick overview of what our timeline looks like right now, but it's not solidified because we still have some discussions in prioritization and to really give a fixed outline.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, would you say the priority right now as tangible updates would be the advanced charting, right, Bull?
Yeah, so the things in April that are the most tangible is, and I'll cover this thing as well, is that I'm currently working on a large release for another project, which after this week should be done. And then the development team there takes over a lot more, and then my focus can go a bit more focused on Lambda for the rest of April, which is important to get all the major advanced charting items out there, because we have all of the things prepared for it. So that's going to be the biggest thing. In the meantime, that's my focus, and the development team is working primarily on preparations for the trade engine and authentication, and the on-ramp integration and all of that kind of stuff. But I do know that within April we will be able to provide a far more solid timeline on all of the specificities, so far more detail on all of the things that we're working on. Because if you look at the internal documentation around all of the features that we're working on, it's over 30 pages already. So it's very hard to summarize in one slide, but we tried to pick out the most important parts. And I need to say one important thing is that we kind of wanted to be, we definitely wanted to be further than we are. We always want to be further than we are. And I understand that it's very hard to look at timelines that we communicate and think, well, will that be achieved by then, given the track record of speed so far? And that is one of the exact reasons why we've spent a lot more time this last quarter planning, speccing, negotiating, and drawing out the exact details of what we're building, instead of just YOLO going for it, so that we can provide a better timeline on things. And I think that the only way to prove that is just to start delivering on time what we say to deliver. So that just gives a bit more context around, Ted called it being more quiet, but we've been working quite a bit on, okay, let's plan better instead of just build as fast as we can.
Yeah. And I guess just because we're planning and doing these things behind the scenes doesn't mean that we don't communicate that we're doing that. So we definitely need to be better at that also.
Yeah. Yeah. And Flynn, the Discord can see
Austin,
that we're working on this thing every single day. It's just we want to start being ahead of the curve a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's one more vertical not shown in the timeline here, but it's one also very important one, is like the UI rework and usability upgrade of all of the existing charts we have in macro, and also the order flow page. We will rework that, and also we will integrate things like liquidation heat maps, as Bull said, things that I mostly very heavily use. Basically, what I very heavily use is the features that will come with the advanced charting, the open interest, the funding, the premium, etc. And also things like liquidation heat maps, the ETF data, stuff like that will be integrated. I've been waiting on that also. And then the authentication, and then also my marketing, because my marketing happens via what I use, because that's what I share, will be heavily starting from then, also to not burn users coming if they have the barrier of Solana wallet entrance. So for me, once those things feature-wise are finished, and charting and a roundup of all of the data visualization we have, as well as the authentication, that's enough to start marketing. And that also leads to the next question, the first question actually. Maybe you can switch the slide, Ted.
Which one? Go back or forward?
Forward. Exactly. Okay. The question: is there anything we should know about the team dynamics? Why is Hustle is present in this project? Nothing has really changed out of my stance, because my participation inside of the team is, as well as helping in the back end and talking about the product, but mostly marketing. And for the marketing, it starts when feature-wise, the features from data visualization and charting are there that I heavily use, so that I can use them in my videos or on my Twitter, and as well as the app opening up or change up with the freemium premium and the authentication, so that the users that onboard do not get confused by Solana wallets, or don't want to do that and then jump off of it, but can also use it in a way that I fully use it. And then from there, the trade execution will come, etc., etc. So yeah, I've been in because I'm not a developer, this is also important here. I'm also just waiting for the features, like many of you else, with more insights, obviously, and obviously I also help navigate in terms of usability and UI. Because what is very important for me is that the tool set is that we provide is also usable very well and user friendly. Because technically speaking, we have so many things already that just need to be remodeled in the shape of the UI for users to be able to use it with all of the data aggregation and collection we do and have already, the macro data integration of that. So yeah, that on that question. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that summarizing it, I think sorry, I just want to say one thing is that you have been very clear, like, guys, these are the things I need to really go crazy with the usage of the platform, and until then I need to provide the content. So sometimes I need to use other platforms, but obviously we would want, the dream is to have it within the platform that we're working on. So that also provides a good urgency for me and the development team to really focus on getting that out. And then once that is there as a basis, and all of the communication surrounding that is more active, then we have a better platform to build the other features on as well. So I get it.
Yeah, I was going to say the exact same thing. Our goal, I guess, working with the developers, working with Bull, has been to, I guess, give Hoss the tools that he needs to go ham on this, because the following that Hoss has got, the reaches that he's got, the engagement that he's got is insane. But we don't want to be half-hearted. Well, at least Hoss doesn't want to be half-hearted in sharing everything, and then people being a little bit not disappointed, but asking questions and being confused, or not being as easy for them as it's going to be. So that's where we want to get things. And
yeah, exactly. But my commitment has not changed. I'm also, for me, this is a big chapter change when the authentication is open and we are more rounded up and closed with the data visualization and advanced charting part. And from that on, also the activity will start in terms of the marketing. Before that, I don't think this is also important. The project has been with focus on building it out. So yeah, obviously, while you build out, things change majorly. You don't want to bring people in that then might not like it at that specific moment and then have a bad impression of the project that won't go away. Rather, just show it to them when you're there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Are there any bottlenecks Lambda is facing, and who is writing the code?
This is such a good
Who's
question.
this motherfucker that's writing the code?
Why is it so difficult, and can't you just write better code? Oh my god. To give you an idea of the complexities, like, each exchange has hundreds of different products with, sometimes over 10 different quote assets and dynamics and specifications of tickers and so forth and so on. And we're storing all of that information and then performing calculations over in real time over multiple time frames. So you have to multiply the amount of assets times the amount of exchanges times the amount of signals and calculations that we have to do. And then we haven't even touched upon stupid stuff like funding and OI and all the other crap. So you can get, it's very easy for a script kiddie to get 1 minute candle data from an exchange, but you can only get the liquidation and the buy and sell side differentiated data if you listen to WebSocket information from the exchange. But this is a very unreliable data source. So how do you know when you have the right data? How do you know when you have data gaps? Are you sure that you have the right information to calculate signals on, especially if people are trading on that information? Are you data complete? Have you got the right measurements in place to make sure that you fill out gaps if they are there? How are you going to be aware if there's anything happening that is not going well? And that's only talking about candle data. Then we've got open interest. Open interest information is not even retrievable via WebSocket, so you have to retrieve it via API calls, and you've got Binance that says, look, you're asking way too much of us, we're going to block you. Then you have to build infrastructure to circumvent those blockages. Then you have to have data checking and parity checking on that as well to make sure that you have the right information. Where do you get the accurate information from? If the place where you're supposed to get the accurate information from is blocking you, then you've got issues with performance. So what happens if 2,000 people at the same time want to murder the database? What about storage? I mean, are there bottlenecks? Yeah, there are a lot of bottlenecks. It's not an easy thing to develop, and we haven't even talked about all of the things that you need to have in place to do good trading and security around that. Who's writing the code? I am mostly leading a team of currently around 5 other people, depending on where we are and where the team is that's working with us in terms of their focus and priorities on this code. So it's a sizable operation, and a lot of the stuff that we write you don't see. It's mostly in the back end on stabilities. But if you open the app, like the speed at which we now can move between pairs, in which we get information flowing in real time, in which like I'm just clicking in between 10 different pairs, which retrieve not only all of the liquidation data, all of the volume data, candle data, but also the signals that come out of that. And it's rendered within a second or less on the platform. And then I get the screener signals coming out, the liquidations out. And this is only like 30% of what we can actually render. And we have got a lot more coming, like open interest, order book data, and the real feeds of those. So imagine seeing order book levels changing in real time right behind the chart and in the bottom next to this. So in terms of non-code bottlenecks, I said this earlier that I'm also working on another project, and we have a big release coming out this week, which we really want to get done. And then that will pave the road for the team that we have there to take over more of my tasks to make sure that the development is more regular, that we do more weekly, bi-weekly releases. I've been a huge bottleneck there because a large part of it depended on me fixing and building certain things. So I hope that answers your question. And if it didn't, just tag me in the Discord and ask me a specific part of it, because it's a very big question. And I'm more than happy to tell you exactly what I'm working on. Also, like, there's a channel, I'm not sure if people are aware of it. It's called the V0.9.x, which the awesome dudes within the Discord opened, the dudes and dudettes. And there we've talked for now 2-3 months on all the specific issues and things that are coming up and the little bugs and how they're fixed and what parts of the code are responsible for that. So if you really want to dive in, I would go to this one. It's under member discussion V0.9.x release feedback. There you're more than welcome to provide any feedback. And a lot of people have provided really good feedback there already. So long answer for a short question, but it's actually a big question.
Yeah, that channel's just up in front of you now on the screen. So everyone has access to that, or only members?
Members, yeah. I don't think that's public.
Yeah.
Sharing is caring. All right. What's the next slide? Why is Telegram channel shut down?
Okay, so Telegram channel was shut down. So initially it was opened up to capture the whole momentum that was crypto projects, people looking at Telegram bots, people looking at Telegram more than they did Discord and crypto for, coming out of the bear market those last couple of months. So we captured a few new people that have since migrated to the Discord, and Telegram, don't get us wrong, Telegram is going to be quite a heavy integration that we have with the alerts and with automated mobile trading. So that will come back. But for now, while we are focusing on our communications and getting better at that, it didn't make sense to have a fragmented communication medium. So we have Twitter, we have YouTube, we have Telegram, we had Telegram, we have Discord, we have Medium. So having 5 or 6 different things, it's hard to maintain all of them and ensure that they all get the love that they should. So Telegram was one that didn't have a lot of action. We had the bot in there that was cool, people using that for the news and using that for tokens. But it didn't make sense to keep it open when new people would come to it. There's not a lot of action there, and it just looks like the project is, there's nothing happening. And a few people ended up asking that because there was no action. So getting rid of it and directing people to Discord, where there's a lot more happening, all of the communications can be sent there, and not have that fragmentation. Instead, have one platform where we can release all the announcements and communicate things like town halls, like app updates or app issues or bugs, and just generally have the community there. So there's no more to it than that. So unless you guys have anything else on that, I think for me that's all I have to say on the Telegram channel.
Yeah, makes
I
sense.
think that's good.
Bull, I think you've already touched on this, but this is a comment from someone saying they're concerned about the two projects, Basis and Lambda. I believe they're referring
Yeah,
to here.
I answered that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we answered the last slide as well, to be honest.
Yeah. What will happen? So what will happen after V1? I think the question is, when do subscription timers and all of that kick off again? So for me, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we're all in agreement that V1 is aligned with subscription timers on. V1 is also when advanced charting is live. And all of that is tidied up and shipped into production. So, Bull.
Yeah, and some perhaps like very rudimentary initial help with trading. I think that would be important to get done. So then we actually have the whole thing for the first version complete, and then very quickly after that start releasing more stuff. Because I think it's important also to take stock of where subscriptions stand, because literally since the launch of this second iteration of Lambda, we haven't charged. So the team has had zero revenue because we don't charge for subscriptions. Basically, people bought a subscription once and they just get infinite access. And then I think it was very decent then to wait until the timer's running until we have a feature complete thing, which is what they actually bought. And so then we will see who stays and who goes, and hopefully with the tokenomic upgrades, it will be easier for people to stay and do the things that they want to do. So that would be good. I think that one of the big things I'm looking forward to is to engineer the usage of the token in such a way that it drives a lot more volume for it to be used, so that there is an incentive for people to trade it more. And I think with that also helps increase visibility, liquidity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So volume is the key. So we need to do the features that drive volume. Price, I mean, who knows where price goes, and you'll never hear me commenting about the Lambda price. But I just want it to be used, and that's what a utility token is for. It needs to be used, so not just for subscriptions, also for other stuff.
Yeah, I agree. And V1.1 would be authentication, the new authentication layer, right?
Yeah. Well, but this is what I said. Like, we're currently right now, we have to do some higher level priority decisions within the team this week, and then we can nail the exact timeline with the devs, and then we can just tell people exactly this should be landing by then. Don't pin us on it, but we're doing our best for it. And then the next goal is to just surprise people, I guess. I hear you, Maria. I tried to cover it.
To charge. Okay. That's all that we had marked for this town hall. Again, we'll do this every month, and I want to get into a cadence of communicating what's going on week to week in the Discord. So jump in the Discord if you're not there, please. That's the sole medium of information exchange for Lambda. So jump in there. Also Twitter as well, but more so Discords. Hoss, Bull, thank you very much. Do you guys have anything else to say? Or shall we wrap it up?
No, thank you.
Hopefully the market nukes a bit more. I didn't buy nearly enough yesterday, so.
I think the Bears have had their fun.
Okay. All right.
All right, guys. Have a great day. Thanks for tuning in. We'll speak in the Discord.
Back to work.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Ciao.